Hello, welcome back to another video. And today we got something interesting from Pirate Nation. He tweeted out, ItchIo is re-indexing adult games labeled free on their site. They confirmed activity discussion with payment processors to resolve issue. And here they have an image. Pull it up real quick. ItchIo from community, ItchIo development updates, re-indexing adult content sticky. And it says right here, today we are re-indexing free adult NSFW content. We are still in ongoing discussions with payment processors and will be reintroducing paid content slowly to ensure we can confidently support the widest range of creators in the long term. Now, I looked into this, and it says right here, people are already fucking replying to this. Their visitor numbers have fallen by 80%. They didn't have any other choice, just like Imager before them. Step in the right direction, at least in a way. They're fighting back where it hurt. Where it hurt is that Steam didn't even try. They capitulated way too fast. That is true. Steam did, in fact, just sort of bend the knee right away, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. Another individual stating here they had a great opportunity to cleanse their platform, repair their image, and became the ideal space for any dev to publish games. Instead, they decided to go back to being the platform that hosts the slop that other platforms reject, Common HL, which is pretty interesting, okay, I feel like this individual's just projecting their own issues with it. Here, this individual states, honestly, the damage is already done, so it's going to take time for people to trust them. Personally, I wouldn't trust them again, and honestly, I can understand that sentiment. And then we have two other more individuals right here. This one, small start. We can hear collective shots screaming at this. And here we have another person. They were going to do that anyways. Remember, it said that games couldn't be sold on the platform with that kind of content. Not that they couldn't be free on the platform with that kind of content. And I saw this and I was like, that got me thinking. I was like, are they really gonna actually do something about this, or are they just putting this out there as like as a saving grace? And here I actually found the entire article. I looked it up and I read through it, and I'm going to cover a few things. Like, for instance, right here it says that they are re-indexing free adult NSFW content. We're still in ongoing discussions with payment processors and will be reintroducing paid content slowly, just like they stated above. But the issue is it needs to be free. That's in my gripe, is that they're not doing all content, they're doing free content. And then they have this little note stating that the admin limited the display of replies to prevent off-topic discussions. If you have any issues or concerns, you can contact support, or if you want to have a more public discourse, then I recommend creating a general discussion. This, in my opinion, seems very cowardly. It just tells me that you don't want people to comment on the article so that other people can see what those comments may be. And it sort of seems like they're hiding still in the corner, trying to do damage control for their platform. And honestly, limiting what people can see and what other people are commenting on this is very, very idiotic and moronic, in my opinion. But anyways, let's continue. If you'd like to be eligible for today's re-indexing, your page must have the following option checked: the no payments option, the pricing section, under the pricing section of your project's edit page in your dashboard. In my opinion, this is really like stupid, especially considering you have a zero or donate option. Why wouldn't you choose a $0, which is still technically free, or donate option? Why does it have to be no payment? That just doesn't seem right with me, especially because people put a lot of hard work into these projects and they put all their efforts into this, and then they go to your platform and they can't even manage to get donations out of people who might want to support. It just seems very odd. And like I said, in the previous video where I reacted to Hirohe, I believe, or Rev, one of those two. People are gonna circumvent all this inevitably in one way or another. They'll either they'll either put, like, at the start of the game, a little statement about donating to a specific page, or in the credits at the very end, they'll link their Ko-fi, or their whatchamacallit, or like a Patreon, or they'll have like a Cash App link, a QR code of some kind to go to a third party site where people could donate money, and that money would go straight to them. It wouldn't even bypass any of this. It would totally bypass all of this. So in my opinion, they should have just left the donate option on and introduced a sub feature where if you do donate, you could choose for the donation to be anonymous, where in your payment process, where in your bank, regardless of whatever it may be, it could say, payment to ItchIo Corporation or something like that, as kind of like a way to circumvent the whole, oh, what is this being paid for? Oh, it'll show up in your bank statement as paid for this game, followed by the ID of the game, and they can go see what ID that is, and then they can be like, oh, no, no, no. So they could have done something like that. I know that other platforms, to my knowledge, already do this. So other platforms that more are geared towards adult content, from what I've seen and heard from other individuals. But let's continue. Important: if your page uses individually priced files, Changing this option will convert those files to be freely available. We currently do not support a page configuration that combines owners only content with a page configured to be fully free with payments disabled. Given the circumstances, we are exploring new ownership options in the dashboard that may address this. At the moment, though, only enable this option if you intend for all files on your project to be available for free. So essentially, if you have DLC that could be part of the files that you'd want to be paid content, it would automatically be transferred to free, from is what I'm getting from this. And like I said, I don't understand why they're not just doing the donate option. You have to do the no payments and essentially make your content free. It doesn't really seem right. But anyways, well, let's see here. We are implementing new content warning system for pages tagged with an SFW. To be eligible for indexing, all page owners will be required to complete this. This feature is not yet ready, but we will post an update when it is. If your page was previously indexed, you will have a time window to complete this requirement to avoid going in and out of indexing. I will say, why didn't you have these warnings already in play? Is my question. I mean, realistically, these types of content warnings should have been in from day one, especially if you knew that your platform would get a wide variety of games uploaded to it. So this just seems like a mishap on their end, but this seems like a mishap that could have been avoided long ago. The Stripe update here, let's see. For those who aren't aware, Stripe is one of our payment processors we've used since our earlier days. They have provided the pay with card option on our checkout page for over 10 years. We spoke with Stripe yesterday about their content policies. They confirmed that they will not be able to support adult content that fits the following condition: content designed for sexual gratification. This is such an open and loose term. Like, content designed for sexual gratification. How can you deem what type of content is designed for sexual gratification when quite literally almost any individual can derive sexual gratification from almost any type of adult content? Like, one individual might play, for example, an incest game, and they might be, ew, this is disgusting, I feel uncomfortable. But another individual might play that exact same game and start jorking it to the content and to the game as they play along. So, how can you really monitor what is and what isn't designed for sexual gratification? Because realistically, a lot of adult games aren't really designed for sexual gratification, from what I've seen, you know? Like, from the games that I've seen that have been removed and that do have like these adult content, they don't really have a lot of interaction in the ways that you could actually where this could be applicable. Like a lot of hentai games, for instance, it's typically some like little RPG, and the hentai quote unquote aspect of it might be like a cutscene, or it might be if it's like a 2D pixel game, it might be the characters, the ads, whatever it is, may be topless if they're female, or maybe trouserless if they're male, you know, and you can't really derive much from that, and it just becomes like a little RPG that has these sexual innuendos placed into them and these sexual scenes in them. Like maybe you'll get like a little card here and there as a collectible that you know, the main character is no longer pixelated. They're like, for instance, in an anime art style, and they're doing something sexual with a woman or with a man, you know, what have you. So this just seems a little bit like they're trying to save face. Stripe asked us to pass along the following message to their users. Stripe is currently unable to support sexually explicit content due to restrictions placed on them by their banking partners. Despite card networks generally supporting adult content with the appropriate registrations, Stripe has indicated that they hope to be able to support adult content in the future. I mean, at least they hope, but that doesn't really imply that they're trying to do anything about it. They're sort of just sitting there at their desks, essentially with their fingers crossed that all this blows over and that payment processors either revert their choices or they implement other features. And I will say, Stripe is also part of Throne. And from what I've seen, you can add adult toys to your Throne wish list. So, how exactly is this going to go for a website like Throne? Because Throne is still allowing for you to be able to buy this type of sexual content that would be for sexual, that would be designed for sexual gratification, you know? A whole bunch of like dildos and fleshlights. You could still add those to your Throne wish list. So I don't really see how it's okay for them to state this, that, you know, they're trying to do something about this, while also on the other end being on a platform like Throne, where you can essentially, let's say you go to Bad Dragon, because Bad Dragon isn't on Throne, you grab a link for one of their Bad Dragon toys, whatever have you, whatever tickles your pickle, whatever floats your boat, whatever your fancy is, and you put the link in there. Then, you know, because Throne doesn't have an actual page for the Bad Dragon company, you have to put in the price and all that stuff, and it says that the whoever, you know, buys that for you or decides to gift it to you, whether it be anonymously or unanonymously, they will essentially be sending you the money directly to you, so that way you have the option, or not the option, so that way you have the money to buy the item. So, and it's all done through Stripe. So I don't really understand how Stripe can wag their finger and say no, no, no to video games, but when it comes to actual masturbatory toys, such as, you know, dildos or fleshlights, they can essentially turn around and be like, yeah, that's okay. You can add that to Throne. It's just very, like, okay, very contradictory. But here they state, we are in the process of talking with other payment partners to accept card payments that Stripe is unable to process. We disabled Stripe payments last week on pages identified as having adult NSFW content. Now that we have more specific definition from Stripe, we may review that initial list for potential reintroductions. However, our long-term plan is to implement one or more new processors to avoid putting that platform at risk. But the thing is, you already did put the platform at risk. A lot of people have already left, and you're sort of doing this just as a way to circumvent the backlash. Either way, at the end of the day, it is good that they're doing this, but realistically, they should have stuck with the consumer, not the payment processors. And they should have introduced their own ways of doing this. Here they have a glossary of the tags, adult NSFW content. This term we are using for the criteria applied in last week's audit of adult content. It refers to the pages that have both the okay, that's a weird phrasing, that have both the contain sensitive material option checked and a tag suggesting adult content, e.g., porn, mature, lewd, erotic, hentai, fetish. De-indexed. State we. Let's see. A state where a project is removed from all public discovery channels on ItchIo. A de-indexed page will not appear in the search results, browsers page, or recommendations. However, the page is otherwise fully functional and will appear normally in collections, libraries, and profile pages. Access to files included on the page are not restricted in any way. It's still like you still can't search it though. You'd have to literally go to someone's profile to find these pages, or to another individual's collection that already had these de-indexed pages saved. So in a way, this is still, very much way to censor that stuff out. But yeah, I still think that they have a lot of work to do. In my opinion, this is definitely a step in the right direction. The issue is some people will obviously see it, like this individual here, as a step in the right direction a little too late, in my opinion. Whereas others might see it as, they're at least trying. And in my opinion, it is true. They're at least trying, unlike Steam. Steam is just still bending the knee, not even actually trying to do anything about this. But hopefully, with the reintroduction of this type of content in itch.io, Steam will try to follow suit, find other ways. If itch.io is successful in finding these other payment platforms that could aid them in being able to reactivate payments of these kinds, that would be great. If not, they should realistically try to find a way to circumvent all this and be able to reinstate the donations option instead of having it all be non-payments. But I mean, they could go to other platforms. They don't necessarily have to use Stripe. I mean, they could try to use something like whatchamacallit, like Cash App or Zelle or something like that, where you can add funds to that and then use that to pay as another way. Or they could have a option, unless I don't know if they already do, but they could add a option where you add funds, kind of like what Steam already has, where you can add funds yourself from your bank, and then those funds are transferred into like some type of credit, where you can use those credits to buy the content without it actually appearing in your banking statements, which sort of circumvents all this issue with the payment processors, as you're not actually buying anything, you're just adding funds to buy stuff at a later date, or buy stuff in application credits, which is, in my opinion, a reasonable and a better way to go about it. If you want to circumvent all this, you could just add your own, itch.io credits, where you add funds from your bank to the platform, and it just appears in your bank statement as a blank statement. Well, not a blank statement, but as like it doesn't have a type of purchase. It just simply says that, it doesn't state what the purchase is, doesn't have a type of ID purchase that could be linked back to the game. It simply has a statement that says funds added to this platform. And that way, if they go to the platform and they're like, hey, what did this individual buy, itch.io can state that, they can't disclose that because that's confidential information, and that's something they'd have to ask their client about. But yeah, all in all, I feel like this is a good step in the right direction, but at the same time, it's a little bit late. They should have been trying to do this from day one instead of adhering to the these payment processors. They should have simply put out this notice earlier stating that, you can keep it up. We're not going to remove anything. You just have to make it free for the time being while we search for another way for you guys to be able to get paid. But yeah, anywho, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz. And remember to believe nothing, question everything, and always seek the deeper truth. And remember to be safe out there. Be careful. You never know what's going to happen. Defend yourselves in any way, shape, or form if someone is threatening you or your family with any type of violence. And yeah, the world is uncertain. The world is slightly unsafe. So be careful. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.